Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec back with another video for you guys. In today's video, we are continuing on with the Cybersecurity 101 learning path. This is the cryptography module. This is the public key cryptography basics room. Discover how public key ciphers such as RSA work and explore the role in applications such as SSH. So let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, let's take a look at task number one, which is the introduction. Consider the following scenario from everyday life. Let's say you are meeting a business partner over coffee and discussing somewhat confidential business plans. Let's break down the meeting from the security perspective. You can see and hear the other person. Consequently, it is easy to be sure of their identity. That's authentication, i.e., you are confirming the identity of who you are talking with. You can also confirm that what you are hearing is coming from your business partner. You can tell what words and sentences are coming from your business partner and what is coming from others. That's authenticity, i.e., you verify that the message generally comes from a specific sender. Moreover, you know that what they are saying is reaching you, and there's no chance of anything changing in the other party's words across the table. That's integrity, i.e., ensuring that the data has not been altered or tampered with. Finally, you can pick a seat away from the other customers and keep your voice low so that only your business partner can hear you. That's confidentiality, i.e., only the authorized parties can access the data. Let's quickly compare this with correspondence in the cyber realm. When someone sends you a text message, how can you be sure that they are who they claim to be? How can you be sure that nothing changed the text, that nothing changed in the text as it traveled across various network links? When you are communicating with your business partner over an online messaging platform, you need to be sure of the following. Authentication. You want to be sure you are communicating with the right person, not someone else pretending. Authenticity. You can verify that the information comes from the claimed source. Integrity. You can ensure that no one changes the data you exchange. Confidentiality. You want to prevent an authorized party from eavesdropping on your conversations. Cryptography can provide solutions to satisfy the above requirements, among many others. Private key cryptography, i.e., symmetric encryption, mainly protects confidentiality. However, public key cryptography, i.e., asymmetric cryptography, plays a significant role in authentication, authenticity, and integrity. This room will show various examples of how public key encryption or cryptography achieves that. Learning prerequisites. This room is the second of three introductory rooms about cryptography. Before starting this room, ensure you have finished the first one first on the list, Cryptography Basics, which we've already done, so you can check out that video on that. Currently in this one here, this public key cryptography. The next one's going to be talking about hashing basics. All right, learning objectives. In this room, we will cover various asymmetric crypto systems and applications that use them, such as RSA, Diffie-Hellman, SSH, SSL/TLS certificates, PGP, and GPG. First, let's start the virtual machine. So let's go ahead and click that. Start in split screen. The VM is not visible. Okay, VM is not visible. Use the blue show split screen button. As you can see there, it's loading up. You can access the virtual machine SSH at the IP address. As soon as it loads up, it's going to appear there. And then with these creds as well. All right, so that completes task number one. Let's go to task number two here. And we're going to talk about common use of asymmetric encryption. Exchanging keys for symmetric encryption is widespread use of asymmetric cryptography. Asymmetric encryption is relatively slow compared to symmetric encryption. Therefore, we rely on asymmetric encryption to negotiate and agree on symmetric encryption ciphers and keys. But the question is, how do you agree on a key with the server without transmitting the key for people snooping to see? Analogy. Imagine you have a secret code for communicating and instructions for using the secret code. The question is how you can send these instructions to your friend without anyone else being able to read them. The answer is more straightforward than it seems. You could ask your friend for a lock. Only your friend has the key for this lock and will assume you have an indestructible box that you can lock with it. If you send the instructions in a locked box to your friend, they can unlock it once it reaches them and read the instructions. After that, you can communicate using the secret code without the risk of people snooping. In this metaphor, the secret code represents symmetric encryption, cipher and key. The lock represents the server's public key, and the key represents the server's private key. Analogy and then cryptographic system. All right, as we just went over there, secret code, symmetric encryption, cipher and key, lock, public key, and lock's key is the private key. Consequently, You would only need to use asymmetric cryptography once so that it won't affect the speed, and then you can communicate privately using symmetric encryption. Real world. In reality, you need more cryptography to verify that the person you're talking to is who that they say they are. This is achieved using digital signatures and certificates, which we will visit later in this room. All right, question time. And the analogy presented, what real object is analogous to the public key? So if we go back up here, public key, that's going to be the lock. Okay, so that's the answer to that one. Task number 3, we're going to talk about RSA. And let's see here. Looks like a lot of math stuff. RSA is a public key encryption algorithm that enables secure data transfer over insecure channels. With an insecure channel, we expect adversaries to eavesdrop on it. The math that makes RSA secure. RSA is based on a mathematically difficult problem of factoring a large number. Multiplying two large prime numbers is a straightforward operation. However, finding the factors of a huge number takes much more computing power. It's simple to multiply two prime numbers together, even on paper. Let's say 113 times 127 equals 14,351. Even for large prime numbers, it would still be a feasible job, even by hand. Consider the following numeric example. Prime number 1, you can see it there. Prime number 2, their product is going to be multiplying those together to get that. All right, so that's the product. On the other hand, it's pretty tricky to determine what two prime numbers multiply together to make 14,351, and even more challenging to find the factors of this big number here. In real world examples, the prime numbers would be much bigger than the ones in the example. A computer can easily factorize this big number here. However, it cannot factorize a number with more than 600 digits. And you would agree that the multiplication of the two huge prime numbers, each around 300 digits, would be easier than the factorization of their product. Numeric example. Let's revisit encryption, decryption, and key usage in the asymmetric encryption. The public key is known to all correspondents and is used for encryption, while the private key is protected and used for decryption, as shown in the figure below. All right, so let's get out of this. And the cryptographic, or in the cryptography basics room, we explained the module operation and said it plays a significant role in cryptography. In the following simplified numerical example, we see the RSA algorithm in action. 1. Bob chooses two prime numbers, P equals 157, Q equals 199. He calculates N equals P times Q equals 31,243. 2. With, I believe that's, I'm not sure, XOR, I guess. N equals, and you can see the formula here. All right, Bob selects E equals 163 such that E is relatively prime to that. Moreover, he selects D equals 379 where E times D equals 1 mod, etc., etc. All right, you get the gist here. All right, it's basically explaining how everything in this process works. All right, so I'm not going to go ahead and read through that. Um, the proof that the above algorithm works can be found in modular arithmetic and is beyond the scope of this module. It is worth repeating that in this example, we picked a 3-digit prime number, while in an actual application, P and Q would be at least a 300-digit prime number each. Are RSA and CTFs. The math behind RSA comes up relatively often in CTFs, requiring you to calculate variables to break some encryption based on them. Many good articles online explain RSA, and they will give you almost all the information you need to complete challenges. One good example of RSA CTF challenge is breaking RSA rooms, so check that out if you're interested. There are some excellent tools for defeating RSA challenges in CTFs. My favorite is RSA CTF Tool, which has worked well for me. I've also had some success with RSA Tool, so check those two out if you're interested. You need to know the main variables for RSA and CTFs, P, Q, M, N, E, D, and C. As per our numerical example, P and Q are large prime numbers. N is the product of P and Q. The public key is N and E. The private key is N and D. M is used to represent the original message, i.e. plain text, and C represents the encrypted text, i.e. ciphertext. Crypto CTF challenges often present you with a set of these values, and you need to break the encryption and decryption, or break the encryption and decrypt a message to receive the flag. All right, question time. Basically, you're going to use what they just explained up here, right? These formulas. All right, you're just going to follow along with it, knowing that P equals 4,391 and Q equals 6,659. What is N? Okay, so you're going to basically multiply those together to get that answer. Um, then you're going to use a similar formula for this one here. All right, so it's pretty simple to do. You can do that with a calculator. You can do that with just Google or Chat GPT or something like that. Should be able to figure these out for you. Task number 4 here. I'm trying to get to the practical application. All right, like I said, you're not gonna be hand punching this stuff in the real world. Okay, all this stuff is gonna be done behind the scenes, unless you're gonna be specializing in cryptography. Then yeah, but that's beyond the scope of this particular video and module. So task number 4, Diffie-Hellman key exchange. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Be sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Once you subscribe, be sure to hit that notification bell. All right, so you know every time I post a new video. As you can see here, most people that view my videos, view my channel, are not subscribed. Now, if you do subscribe, it will help me get into the YouTube algorithm so that we can continue to grow our glorious community here. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch. Have a nice day and enjoy the video. And let's see what they're talking about here. One of the challenges of using symmetric encryption is sharing the secret key. Let's say you want to send a password protected document to your business partner to discuss confidential business strategies. How would you share the password with them? It would be best if you had a secure channel to send the password, knowing that adversaries cannot read or alter it. Diffie-Hellman key exchange, and let's see what they say here. Key exchange aims to establish a shared secret between two parties. It is a method that allows two parties to establish a shared secret over an insecure communication channel without requiring a pre-existing shared secret and without an observer being able to get to this key. Consequently, this shared key can be used for symmetric encryption and subsequent communications. Consider the following scenario. Alice and Bob want to talk securely. They want to establish a shared key from symmetric cryptography, but don't want to use asymmetric cryptography for the key exchange. This is where the Diffie-Hellman key exchange comes in. Alice and Bob generates secret keys or secrets independently. Let's call these secrets A and B. They also have some public common material. Let's call this C. We need to make some assumptions. Firstly, whenever we combine secrets, they're practically impossible to separate. Secondly, the order in which they've combined doesn't matter. Alice and Bob will combine their secrets with the common material to form AC and BC. They will then send these to each other and combine the received part with their secret to create two identical keys, both A, B, and C. Now, they use this key to communicate. If you found the previous paragraph too abstract, let's investigate the exact process. All right, this looks pretty lengthy here. One, Alice and Bob agree on the public variables, a large prime number, P, and a generator, G, where 0 is less than G, which is less than P. These values will be disclosed publicly over the communication channel, although insecurely small. We we'll choose P equals 29 and G equals 3. To simplify our calculations, 2, each party chooses a private integer. As a numerical example, Alice chooses A equals 13 and Bob chooses B equals 15. Each of these values represents a private key and must not be disclosed. Let's see. 3, it is time for each party to calculate the public key using their private key for step 2 and the agreed upon public variables. From step 1, Alice calculates A equals, or capital A equals, G to A, mod P equals 3 to the 13th power, mod 29 equals 19, and Bob calculates B equals G to the power B, mod P equals 3 to the power 15, mod 29, which equals 26. These are the public keys. Alice and Bob send the keys to each other. Bob receives A equals yada yada yada, Alice's public key, and Alice receives this one here, Bob's public key. This step is called the key exchange. Number 5, Alice and Bob can finally calculate the shared secret using the received public key and their own private key. Alice calculates B to the power A, mod P equals 26 to the power 13, mod 29 equals 10, and Bob calculates the following here, which equals 10. Both calculations yield the same result, which is this here, the shared secret key. So you can see that in this infographic here. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on. The chosen numbers are too small to provide any security. In real-life applications, we would consider much bigger numbers. Diffie-Hellman key exchange is often used alongside RSA public key cryptography. Diffie-Hellman is used for key agreement, while RSA is used for digital signatures, key transport, and authentication, among many others. For instance, RSA helps prove the identity of the person you're talking to via digital signing, as you can confirm based on their public key. This would prevent someone from attacking the connection with a man-in-the-middle attack against Alice by pretending to be Bob. In brief, Diffie-Hellman and RSA are incorporated into many security protocols and standards to provide a comprehensive security solution here. All right, so I'm not really going to go through these here, but you can just use this information they just shared up here to solve these. Okay, consider P equals 29, G equals 5, A equals 12. What is the A? So you're just going to use the information, the formulas they had up here to solve these particular problems down here. So it's going to be 7. What is B? That's going to be 9. And then this one's going to be 24 and then 24. All right, so let's continue on to task number 5. We're going to talk about SSH. Authenticating the server. If you have used an SSH client before, you would know the confirmation prompt in the terminal output below. All right, this is what they're talking about here. SSH into this particular target box here. Okay. In the above interaction, the SSH client confirms whether we recognize the server's public key. Fingerprint ED25519 is the public key algorithm used for digital signature generation and verification. Example, our SSH client didn't recognize this key and is asking us to confirm whether we want to continue with the connection. This warning is because a man-in-the-middle attack is probable. A malicious server might have intercepted the connection and replied pretending to be the target server. In this case, the user must authenticate the server, i.e. confirm the server's identity by checking the public key signature. Once you answer with yes, the SSH client will record this public key signature for this host. In the future, it will connect you silently unless this host replies with a different public key. And I'm sure y'all have seen this before. Anytime you do like a CTF or something like that, they'll have a box. Maybe if it's a Linux box, then you try to SSH into it, and you'll get this prompt or some similar situation like this. Authenticating the client. Now that we have confirmed that we are talking with the correct server, we need to identify ourselves and get authenticated. In many cases, SSH users are authenticated using usernames and passwords like you would log into a physical machine. However, considering the inherent issues with passwords, this doesn't fall within the best security practices. At some point, one will surely hit a machine with SSH configured with key authentication instead. And yes, I've seen this before. This authentication uses public and private keys to prove the client is a valid and authorized user on the server. By default, SSH keys are RSA keys. You can choose which algorithm to generate and add a passphrase to encrypt the SSH key, which is SSH-keygen. Okay, SSH keygen is the program usually used to generate key pairs. It supports various algorithms as shown on its manual page below. So there you go. The following is just for information. At this stage, we recommend that you recognize their names only. So you got DSA, digital signature algorithm. You got ECDSA, elliptical curve digital signature algorithm. Next one here, which is the EDCA with security key, ED25 519. And then you have the same thing with SK. All right. So be sure to understand what they're talking about here. Let's generate a key pair with the default options, and let's just go ahead and follow along. I'm going to copy and paste here. Let's go ahead and clear all this out. And oops, let me get out of this real quick. There we go. All right, so we'll go ahead and paste that in there. And what do they call theirs? Okay. Enter the file in which to save the key. Okay, whatever. Let's just call it key, I guess. All right, let's go ahead and put this password in. Passwords do not match. Okay, it must have typoed something. Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look here. In the above example, we didn't use a password to show you the content of the private key. Let's look at the generated public key and the generated private key. All right. Oh, right. Okay. I guess that's what they called theirs. But anyway, ours is just called key. And let's go ahead and do this here. So you can see our stuff is there. Okay. So let's go ahead and clear this out. Clear this out. Do this again. Okay. So we're gonna do a cat and then just key dot pub. So there's the information in ours, and then they want us to do the same for the other one. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do cat and then just key. Okay, there we go. Note that the private key is shared above for demonstration purposes and was purged afterwards. Sharing a private key would be the most insecure act anyone can commit against their security. On another note, had we used the -T RSA, the resulting keys would have been much longer. That's absolutely true. You don't want to display your private keys. That's why it's called private keys. SSH private keys. As just mentioned, you should treat your private keys like passwords. Never share them under any circumstances. They're called private keys for a reason. Someone with your private key can log into servers that accept it, i.e., include it among the authorized keys unless the key is encrypted with a passphrase. It's very important to mention that the passphrase used to decrypt the private key doesn't identify you to the server at all. It only decrypts the SSH private key. The passphrase is never transmitted and never leaves your system. Using tools like John the Ripper, you can attack an encrypted SSH key to attempt to find the passphrase, highlighting the importance of using a complex passphrase and keeping your private key private. When generating a SSH key to log into a remote machine, you should generate the keys on your machine and then copy the public key over. As this means the private key never exists on the target machine using SSH copy ID. However, this doesn't matter as much for temporary keys generated to access CTF boxes. The permissions must be set up correctly to use a private SSH key, otherwise your SSH client will ignore the file with a warning. Only the owner should be able to read or write to the private key 600 or stricter. SSH-I and then the private key, then user at host is how you um, specify a key for the standard Linux OpenSSH client. Keys trusted to the remote host. It's in the home and then .ssh folder is the default place to store these keys for OpenSSH. The authorized keys. Note the US English spelling file is in this directory holds public keys that are allowed to access the server if key authentication is enabled. By default, on many Linux distributions, key authentication is enabled. That is more secure than using a password to authenticate. Only key authentication should be accepted if you want to allow SSH access for the root user. And that's right. That means they won't be able to, use like password spring or something like that to break into SSH if you have the key authentication enabled. Using SSH keys to get a better shell. During CTFs, penetration testing, and red teaming exercises, SSH keys are an excellent way to upgrade a reverse shell, assuming the user has login enabled. Note that www-data usually does not allow this, but regular users and root will work. Leaving an SSH key in the authorized keys file on a machine can be a useful backdoor, and you don't need to deal with any of the issues of unstabilized reverse shells like Control C or lack of tab completion. All right, check the SSH key or private key in this directory here. What algorithm does the key use? So go ahead and try that, find that out yourself, then come back to the video and we will continue on. All right, let's go ahead and take a look here. As you can see, I used ls to see which files in this particular directory that we need to look in for task number 5. Here's the key right there. Did cat on it, and you can see that it's using RSA, right? So that's the entire output of it. But if you just want to look at the first um, few lines of it, you can use head, and it'll give you that information as well. So there you go for that. And let's continue on to task number 6, digital signatures and certificates. So let's see what they're talking about here. In the analog world, you are asked to sign a paper now and then. When you visit the bank to open a savings account, you are most likely asked to sign several documents. When you want to create an account at the local library, you'll be asked to fill out and sign the application. The purpose can vary depending on the situation. For example, it can confirm that you agree to the terms and conditions authorized a transaction or acknowledge receiving an item. In the digital world, you cannot use your signature, stamp, or fingerprint. You need a digital signature. What's a digital signature? Well, let's find out. Digital signatures provide a way to verify the authenticity and integrity of a digital message or document. Proving the authenticity of files means we know who created or modified them. Using asymmetric cryptography, you produce a signature with your private key, which can be verified using your public key. Only you should have access to your private key, which proves you signed the file. In many modern countries, digital and physical signatures have the same legal value. The simplest form of a digital signature is encrypting the document with your private key. If someone wants to verify the signature, they would decrypt it with your public key and check if the files match. This process is shown in the image below. So there you go. All right. Some articles use terms such as electric or electronic signature and digital signature interchangeably. They refer to pasting an image of a signature on top of a document. This approach does not prove the document's integrity, as anyone can copy and paste an image. In this task, we use the term digital signature to refer to signing a document using a private key or a certificate. This process is similar to the image shown above, where Bob encrypts a hash of his document and shares it with Alice along with the original document. Alice can decrypt the encrypted hash and compare it with the hash of the file she received. This approach proves the document's integrity. Unlike pasting a fancy image of a signature, we will cover hashing in the hashing basics room, which I believe is the next room. Certificates prove who you are. Certificates are an essential application of public key cryptography, and they are also linked to digital signatures. A common place where they're used is HTTPS. How does your web browser know that the server you're talking to is the real TryHackMe.com? The answer lies in certificates. The web server has a certificate that says it is the real TryHackMe.com. The certificate has a chain of trust starting with a root CA, which is the certificate authority. From install time, your device, operating system, and web browser automatically trust various root CAs. Certificates are trusted only when the root CAs say they trust the organization that signed them. In a way, it is a chain. For example, the certificate is signed by an organization. The organization is trusted by a CA, and the CA is trusted by your browser. Therefore, your browser trusts the certificate. In general, there are long chains of trust. You can take a look at the certificate authorities trusted by Mozilla Firefox here and Google Chrome here. Let's say you have a website and want to use HTTPS. This step requires having a TLS certificate. You can get one from the various certificate authorities for an annual fee. Furthermore, you can get your own TLS certificates for domains you own using Let's Encrypt for free. If you run a website, it's worth setting up and switching to HTTPS as modern websites would do. Now, this there's an update to this Let's Encrypt, okay? There is a big, huge issue going on with Let's Encrypt certificates not going to be trusted anymore by web browsers. So you might want to do some Googling and some research into that area because these are no longer going to be trusted by web browsers very, very soon. Because since they're free, right, a lot of attackers will use these Let's Encrypt certificates to put on their phishing or malicious websites to make them look more legitimate to victims, all right? And that caused a huge, huge bad thing to happen. And now they started cracking down on Let's Encrypt certificates. And I think they gave them some time to fix these issues with it, but they didn't fix them. I don't know. I would recommend looking into why Let's Encrypt certificates are not going to be trusted by web browsers relatively soon. But anyway, let's continue on. What does a remote web server use to prove itself to the client? What we saw above here is going to be certificates, prove who you are. And what would you use to get a free TLS certificate for your website? Let's Encrypt. So you can try to use that website, but like I said, these are no longer going to be trusted in these web browsers relatively soon. Task number 7, we're going to talk about PGP and GPG. PGP stands for Pretty Good Privacy. It's software that implements encryption for encrypting files, performing digital signing, and more. GNU, PG, or GPG, I guess that's GNU or GNU, oh well, is an open source implementation of the open PGP standard. GPG is commonly used an email to protect the confidentiality of the email messages. Furthermore, it can be used to sign an email message and confirm its integrity. Below is an example of generating GPG. You are asked about the purpose of using GPG, whether signing only or signing and encrypting. Besides selecting the cryptographic algorithm, we needed to choose an expiry date for the generated key. Finally, we provided some information about us, our name, email address, and comment usually about the purpose of this key. So this is what it looks like here, GPG, full gen key. And this is the information I'm talking about here. Select what kind of key you want. Okay, they got RSA, DSA, and a bunch of others here. Please select the electrical curve you want, yada yada yada. Okay, basically just follow the prompts here on what you want to do. You may need to use GPG to decrypt files and CTFs with PGP/GPG. Private keys can be protected with passphrases in a similar way that we protect SSH private keys. If the key is passphrase protected, you can attempt to crack it using John the Ripper and GPG to John. The key provided in this task is not protected with a passphrase. The man page for GPG can be found online here, so you can check that out if you're interested. I may want to take note of this as well if you come across this in any type of exam environments, anything like that. So you see a passphrase, then you can try to use a tool to try to crack that passphrase. Sometimes it may be a weak passphrase. You can crack that relatively quickly, okay? Practical example. Now that you have your GPG key pair, you can share the public key with your contacts. Whenever your contacts want to communicate securely, they encrypt their messages to you using your public key. To decrypt the message, you will have to use your private key. Due to the importance of GPG keys, it is vital that you keep a backup copy in a secure location. Let's say you got a new computer. All you need to do is import your key, and you can start decrypting your message. You receive messages again. You would use GPG import and the backup key name to import your key from backup.key. To decrypt your messages, you need to issue GPG decrypt confidential message.gpg. All right, let's check out these questions here. Use GPG to decrypt the message in this task here. What secret word does the message hold? So go ahead and try that out and then come back to the video and we will walk it through. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look here. Clear all this stuff out. As usual, we're going to do the ls so we can see what's in here. So we can do ls and I'm going to paste. So there's the file there, and we're just going to follow along what they have here. All right, so okay, so let's see here. We need to import it, and let's go ahead and do that prompt or the command here, import, and it's going to be that TryHackMe key. If it lets me autocomplete, no, it doesn't. Okay, TryHackMe.key. Oh, that's why, because I'm not in that directory. Oh, that would make sense. So let's go ahead and change directories and go to it. Good. Now this makes everything easier. All right, so let's go ahead and try this again. GPG and import, and the name is going to be TryHackMe. TryHackMe key. Enter. All right, looks like it's good to go there. And next one's going to be GPG, then decrypt. And we're going to decrypt that message file. So let's do that. All right, and there we go. You decrypted the file. The secret word is pineapple. So that's going to be the answer to that one. Task number 8, conclusion. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up. And let's see what they say here. We have defined cryptography as the science of securing communication in the presence of adversaries. Another important science that studies how to break or bypass cryptographic systems is cryptanalysis or cryptanalysis. As for trying every possible password combination, we call that a brute force attack. However, when we know that the password is most likely a dictionary word, it will make more sense to try words from a dictionary instead of every possible password combination. This is called a dictionary attack. Okay, so there's a difference here. Cryptography is the science of securing communication and data using codes and ciphers. Cryptanalysis, study of methods to break or bypass cryptographic security systems without knowing the key. Brute force attack, dictionary attacks we just read about here. This room was focused on public key cryptography, asymmetric cryptography, and key exchange. It gave you an essential understanding of RSA, Diffie-Hellman, SSH key pairs, and digital signatures and certificates, and Open PGP. Now it is time to learn about hashing. Sure that you have noted various techniques and tools discussed in this room, and we are finished. Now you could play around with John the Ripper or something like that. You can create a key in here with a passphrase and then run like Rocky.txt against it using John the Ripper or something similar to try to brute force that open so you can see how that looks. But anyway, that wraps up the video. Hopefully you found this video of value. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button so you can know every time I post. So make sure that notification bell is clicked as well. And comment below your thoughts and opinions on the information discussed in the video. As always, thank you all for taking the time to join me and watch my video. Have a nice day, and I will see you later.